Drop a like on this video. Speaking of Trey McBride, tasty little nugget here. Midweek on an off-season Tuesday, Trey McBride met with my co-host Bo Brock and the rest of the Phoenix media to talk about what? Accolades, statistics, and of course, sweet baby Marv.
That's right. I mean, as I said, that's become the rite of passage these days. If you wear a Cardinals uniform and you have a microphone in your face, it is our duty, our responsibility as members of the Cardinals media to ask you about our sugar plum prince, Marvin Harrison Jr. That is not, of course, ours. That's who's always calling him a sugar plum prince?
Josh.
Josh.
Yeah, Josh.
Josh Espada, I think.
Yeah, great Josh. Love Josh. So, of course, we asked Trey, and he delivered. He gave us about 90-plus seconds about the newest playmaker in the Cardinals offense, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, Marvin, he's a stud. He's a guy who, as elite as they come, just a freak of nature. A guy of his size and athletic ability is very rare and something you don't see all the time. So he's been great. He's eager to learn, wants to be great, wants to, help this offense in any way he can, and he's been a great teammate for the few weeks I've been able to be with him. Yeah, it's exciting, just to see how much he cares about this game, how much he wants to get better. He's a 4th overall pick. He is exactly what you want in a teammate. He's doing all the extra work. He's in early, doing everything he can to be better, and truthfully, I'm eager to get the pads on and see him and Kyler's connection, all the things that they do during training camp, because, it's hard to tell with just a helmet on and things like that how great someone really can be. But once you get the pads on and it becomes real football, it'll be exciting to see that connection those two have. Yeah, no doubt. Hopefully he can take a little coverage off. They can start double teaming him up and leave it open in the middle for the tight end. Nothing really surprised me. The hype was pretty real about him. He had a ton of hype coming out of college, and I think he very well lived up to the hype. He's a great athlete, a great, person, and most importantly, someone who wants to get better and, isn't complacent at all. So I'm super excited to see this guy in training camp, see him get going, and, he's going to be here for a long time. So I hope, we can be teammates for a long time too.
I think about the teams around the NFL that boast a top 10, 7 to 10 wide receiver and a top 5 to 7 tight end. And there aren't many in the NFL. And I think it's probably one of the most underplayed, hello, dummies, at ESPN facets of this Cardinal team. Like Minnesota, when they have Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson on the field, that's a very deadly combination. But each of them have been hurt respectfully last couple of years. So we haven't really seen that. Like CeeDee Lamb, Turd Ferguson got a gifted, route to the Pro Bowl.
Like Detroit. I think Detroit, Amon-Ra, and Sam Laporta.
Yeah. And look, that team's the AFC Championship game. We talk about, Debo and Ayuk with George Kittle and the diversity in their offense. But I think this has an opportunity to be, along with Michael Wilson, but let's just talk about the tight end and the receiver combination, has a chance to be probably one of the biggest mismatches in the NFL. If Trey McBride, and we'll talk about his production here in a second, has an encore season, can level up and build upon what he did last year, and even put up similar numbers, maybe more touchdowns, and Marv becomes Marv, the trait frame from hell, 1,400 yards, everybody's projecting double-digit touchdowns, it becomes, I think, the biggest mismatch, tight end wide receiver in the NFL. Because as much as I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's not Marvin Harrison Jr. potential-wise. He's undersized, right? Yeah. Give me Marv as
not undersized. He's smaller
compared to Marv.
Yeah.
Give me Marvin Harrison Jr. at 6'4", Trey McBride at 6'4", 6'5". That's going to be a nightmare if they live up to their potential that the NFL really doesn't have right now. Like, I think the closest thing that we've seen to it, not from a physical standpoint, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in their heyday with Kansas City, from a dominant standpoint. I think, like, selfishly, like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I want that. I think the Cardinals can get to that.
You want that? You want something similar to what Cheetah and Travis Kelce gave to KC?
I do selfishly. I see that, and I want that for me.
Look, I wanted to stay away from that because I thought, there's a good chance of hyperbole and people pushing back. But if Trey McBride can duplicate what he did last season, his over 80 catches in 800 games, and we've outlined several times that it was really not getting that true chance until about week 7 last year, because Zach Ertz was still employed by this team and ahead of him on the depth chart. But then if Marvin is anything close, and so far he's been to matching the hype coming out of Ohio State, where he produced 28 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons, and went over 1,000 yards receiving for the first time in Ohio State history back-to-back years. I mean, I don't think that's crazy. Like, obviously Kyler's going to have to do his job, right? In KC, they had the benefit of the greatest quarterback going right now in Mahomes, but Kyler Murray, I think, has the arm talent to get those guys the ball and to make the big plays. And for this offense to go from, good, where they were last season, really at the end of last season, they were good. They were trending yardage wise. They were a top 10 group. If McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. are who we think they can be, guys like Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch, and then of course like James Conner in the run game, it's all just going to get a lot easier. And it goes, as your point, up and up and up, and could reach top 5 status.
I'm waiting for ESPN's article of top wide receiver tight end duos, where Hollywood Brown and Travis Kelce are top 5, and Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. are like 23rd.
Right.
I mean, like, I feel like we're taking crazy pills on an island here in Arizona. Like,
yeah.
Do people not understand what the Cardinals have? They've got a quarterback with a ton of potential in his mid-20s. They've got a top 5 prospect at receiver in the last 10 years. They've got a blossoming tight end that was dominant and probably would have led the league in receiving yards for the position that he started since the beginning of the year. And people are just like, I just don't see it with the Cardinals. I can't wrap my mind around it. It's like, What are you talking about? Like, are you paid professionally to like decipher? If you were my stock trader, I would fire you in a second, because you can't see Will Levis and Calvin Ridley and D-Hop over Kyler, Marvin, and Trey McBride. I'll put away Michael Wilson for a second. He's a friend of this program. We love Michael Wilson. But even if you think, I haven't seen enough from Michael, Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. are a walking freight train for fantasy enthusiasts, players that have proven it at the highest level. And then I think Michael Wilson becomes the trifecta of that group offensively with those skills. Of all those guys at the end of the year can be a number 1 target on a team. And the Cardinals so happen to have 3 of them. Yeah,
I mean, they create on their own as a duo a pick your poison in their own right against defensive secondaries. Like, defensive secondaries are going to have to figure out who they're going to emphasize coverage on. Is it going to be McBride, or is it going to be Marvin Harrison Jr.? And whoever you pick, you're going to have the matchup nightmare defensively of Trey McBride going one-on-one against whichever poor safety you have that's going to have to cover him, or unless you get him help. Or if you're going to let Marvin Harrison Jr. at 6'4" and all his athleticism go up against a cornerback one-on-one, and he's more than likely going to win that battle. And that's without bringing into the equation the Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, or just the fact that they want to emphasize the run game, establish the run with James Conner, and they're geared up towards that. Oh, and let's not forget, Kyler Murray has the ability to get out and run on his own. Like, that's why we're bullish on this offense. Like, the idea, it's funny to me, like, Travis Kelce will elevate the whatever duo it is, like whoever they've found and they've picked for that respective season, whichever wide receiver, whoever's the flavor of the month for them, they're going to be in the conversation for a top 5 tight end wide receiver duo. But it's just like Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend are in the conversation for hottest couple, because his 24-year-old's doing a lot of the heavy lifting, like Kelce.
Right. I got to get to this comment here if I can get through it. Lonnie Glizzlyable. He's hoping to see another pairing in the NFL, Bo. Can we get TJ Hawkinson traded to Miami? This league needs another Hawk Tua combination. Thank you, Lonnie. That's a good one. I had to get that out. Didn't get one yesterday.
Way to go, Lonnie Glizzable.
Thank you for that. Jack Smith, Smalleywood Brown in relation to Hollywood Brown, and that guy Tony Morningwood Brown. Interesting. I like some of these names for Hollywood Brown. Oh man. Kittle saw Trey McBride at tight end University play and said he's finna to be a top tight end. That guy Tony. I'll do you one better. I would take Trey McBride over George Kittle today. No one agrees with me. Give me the 24-year-old ascending over the guy with bad knees that couldn't participate in the Super Bowl that's over 30 years old.
He's not the guy at your LA Fitness down the street, and he's got 2 neoprene knee braces on, and he's still a good one of the top tight ends in the league.
Hey, there's George Kittle with his walker. That's coming up here pretty soon. That's what I'm seeing with George Kittle.
Here's I know he plays for a rival team, but he's a great ambassador for the position. He's been nice to our guy Trey. That's why I'm a little hesitant to bash him like you do.
Johnny,
I hate the Niners. And I will rip all their players.
But Kittle's pretty likable.
He is.
Okay, Niner fans. The Niners are one of the biggest unlikable teams in the NFL. I'm not
sitting here saying, "Hey, will you take it easy on Nick Bosa? He's a scumbag."
I heard you got a Bosa jersey. George Kittle's 30 years old, and he's got a history of being hurt.
He's got 1 foot in the box, according to you.
Saw George at the retirement home the other day down the street.
You're starting to mash up his food for him.
All right, so realistically, what's the expectation for Trey McBride in this offense, Bo? Did he talk about that, in your opinion?
Absolutely. He gave us a good kind of idea of where the offense was last year and where it is today, and gave us more insight on that. Here's what Trey had to say about the Cardinals out.
Yeah, I think it was very good. From this point where we are this year to where we were last year, I think it's significant where we are now. So the team looks, we're not messing up on plays that we did last year. We know this offense a lot better, and most importantly, just to have the guys around, to be working out as an offense, to have Kyler Murray, healthy, things like that. It's all the little things that we got this year, and I'm super excited to see, where we go. Yeah, no doubt. I think the offense, the sky's the limit for the offense. There's so many weapons. There's so many different people that can make plays. I'm super excited. Mike Wilson, Marvin, Greg Dortch, all these different weapons. It's going to be cool to see how Petzing uses all of us and things like that. But I'm super excited to get to camp, to get out with the guys, to start, right where we left off in OTAs, and see where this offense can go.
I mean, give me your prediction for his stat line this year. I know he's being humble. He's talking about everybody else. And, it's everybody on Twitter is like, yeah, he's going to have less targets. Blah, 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 blah. What's your prediction for his stat line this year?
Well, Craig Morgan asked him, do you set goals in, our humble Trey? He was like, not always statistical, but yeah, sometimes he's like, can you get to 1,000? And he said, oh yeah, I can get to 1,000.
I mean, we assume Marv's going over.
Mm-hmm.
I've made a proclamation. I think Michael's going over 1,000. 2 receivers and a tight end over 1,000 yards. Kyler Murray needs to throw for about 5,000 yards as a collective, season to be able to hit those metrics.
I was tagging about 13 ML football posts today on Twitter, and one of them was
It's a big day for you. Congrats.
Are you not on those? I feel like they tag any Cardinals content creator.
You're the lucky one. They got you. You're on their payroll, I think.
I'm hitting the mute the conversation immediately as people just spew out their foul Cardinals takes. But they point out, though, the point of it was they pointed at one of them was the Cardinals, the 3 wide receivers that went over 1,000 yards and who could do it this year. It's just that was a pretty special year between Fitz, Bolden, and then to get Breast in there.
They also did not have a run game that year. They were close to last in the NFL. And they had Edgerrin, speaking of using a walker that season, and Hightower as a 5th rounder. The run game was a fraction of their offense until the postseason, and they got it going. So they threw out of pure necessity. They had to do it. Now, that was a 16-game season. This is 17 games. But I mean, I think we think it's easy.
What are we going into 3 or 4 with it being the 17th game?
3, I think.
Because we still haven't seen it, right? We haven't seen 1,000 from 3. So, I mean, and there's been some pretty health plays a big factor in this, but like if you get 1,000, like a legit 1,000 from Marv and 1,000 from Michael Wilson, and then Trey just knocking on the door, your offense still looks awesome. Like you're still putting up big numbers and points.
Best offense they've had.
And like then you put in the run game, which with James Conner and Trey Benson and Michael Carter and Kyler Murray, it's huge.
Niners got close last year. So Ayuk had 1,300, Kittle had 1,000, and Deebo Samuel had close to 900.
And they were the best offense in the
probably about closest.
Give me that. Give me something close to that in any order. I think, Marv is probably plays the role of Ayuk, and then you can flip-flop between Trey and Michael Wilson, who ends up with those numbers, who ends up over the 1,000-yard mark.